All right, good morning. So nice sunrise this morning. I camped again with Yeti and Chani, and we're on our way heading towards town basically. It's only about 15 miles. We have to go over one big peak called Elk Mountain and then down the other side, and then we should be able to get a ride into Leadore, which is a town in Idaho, and probably spend the night there. And once again, I didn't film any closing clip yesterday, so it probably just ended with a few clips of me walking. But actually something happened. There was actually a situation which I should have filmed a bit. I should have given an explanation of what was going on. But I was with Yeti and Chani, and I was just kind of preoccupied, so I'll explain the situation now. So we actually had an encounter with a grizzly bear. So first grizzly that I've seen on this trail, and only the second grizzly I think I've ever seen in my life. And I've never seen a grizzly bear this close up. It was too close for comfort, and it was a bit of a weird situation, honestly. Basically, I was hiking with Yeti, and Chani was a bit behind, maybe like half an hour behind or something. And me and Yeti got to this spring, a good water source, and we sat down at the spring to collect some water and take a break. And as me and Yeti were sitting there, we both heard noises, just kind of crashing noises and like snapping of twigs or branches in the forest. And we both kind of assumed probably just a deer or a moose or an elk or something, but it could be a bear. And so we're looking into the forest, and we were kind of in this open field, like a meadow by the spring, and the forest was right next to us kind of. And soon enough I saw movement, and I was like, oh, that's a bear. And Yeti was like, that's a grizzly bear, and a decent sized grizzly bear as well. So it was actually fairly close, and it's the kind of distance where I easily could have filmed it, easily could have taken a photo. But that's not what's on your mind when you see a grizzly bear. We were keeping an eye on it, seeing what it was doing, and we started packing up our stuff because we realized that the grizzly was actually coming towards us. And so we kind of are why is it coming towards us? It's kind of weird. Normally when you see a bear, it runs off, especially black bears. I don't know about grizzlies, but normally they don't start walking towards you. But it was good that there were two of us, that we were together, because that makes a difference from the bear's perspective, seeing two people. But basically we'd wanted to take a break there. We'd been moving for a while, and when we saw the bear, we started packing up our stuff. And it's not like it was moving towards us aggressively. It was very casually, sort of clumsily walking through the forest, just on the edge of the trees, on the edge of this meadow. It was just slowly getting closer though, and we were like, why is it coming towards us? Let's get out of here. And at this point the trail follows a dirt road, so we just started moving along the dirt road, kind of walking backwards so that we could keep our eyes on the bear and see what it's doing. And like I said, the bear was just very slowly, casually walking towards us kind of. But as we started going up the dirt road, it seemed to stop. It stopped somewhere on the edge of the trees. But we also realized that Chani was somewhere behind us, and the bear had basically stopped in the trees closest to the spring. So it was the closest point to where you would stop and collect water. And we realized if we leave, Chani's going to come along in maybe 20 minutes or so, and he's probably going to sit down, stop right at that spring, which is right next to where the bear was. So we wanted to wait for Chani to show up so that we could tell him and shout across to him and tell him to go around and not go straight next to the bear. So what we did is basically the spring was kind of in a valley, not really a real valley, just kind of a dip between two hills, a small hill on each side. And so we had come from going down one hill, get to the spring, and then go up the next hill. And so we had basically gone up the next hill, which actually gave us a really good vantage point where we could easily see where Chani would come from on the other hill, and we could also keep an eye on the bear. And so now we had a pretty good distance from the bear. We were pretty far, and we were like up this hill. So we basically posted up, just sitting on this hill, ready to move if we have to, but also just in a good position where we can see things. And at this point we just lost sight of the bear, but we didn't hear any movement or anything, so we kind of assumed it was just like sitting in those trees closest to the spring. And it made us think like the bear was probably just trying to get to the water source, which is why it was coming towards us. Like it probably just knew there was a spring there, and the bear was just going to get some water, and it was probably just kind of annoyed that we were there, and it was probably just waiting in the forest for us to leave before it would go and get some water. I mean, maybe not, but that seems like a reasonable explanation. And so soon enough we saw Chani on the other hill, kind of across this like small little valley not too far away, and Yeti was able to yell pretty loudly, which was good. I don't think I can yell that loud, but Yeti yelled at Chani saying, "There's a Grizz! There's a Grizz by the spring! Go around!" And so, telling him to basically just go cross country and not go like near the forest, just stay like in the middle of the meadow. And Chani was able to hear him well, so Chani was like, all right, and he takes his bear spray out, he's holding it in his hand, and he just goes straight across the meadow, which was good. It was a meadow, like you can see really far. So anyway, so he just comes straight across the meadow and up the next hill towards us. And then we all just got up and left, and we didn't see the bear again. It was probably like I said, just kind of waiting in the forest for us to leave, maybe so it could access the spring. I don't know, but it was a weird encounter, but all good, and it was good to be with other people for that as well. And like I said, I don't think the bear was actually aggressive. The way it was walking was very slow and casual, and I mean, maybe it could be, but like I assume it was probably going for the spring, because it seemed like it just waited in the forest. So anyway, we got out of there, and it was all fine. But I've never seen a grizzly that close up before. Decent sized grizzly bear. I honestly did not expect there to be grizzly bears out here. I mean, I know I'm in grizzly country, obviously, and I follow all the, hang my food at night and all that stuff, don't eat in camp. But it does feel like I'm in such a like dry, almost desert type landscape. I mean, there are patches of forest, and down by that spring there was a lot of forest, but there aren't a lot of berries, and I don't know, it doesn't really seem like the type of place that you'd see a grizzly bear, but clearly they're out here. But that was pretty much it. I'm sorry I don't have any footage of the grizzly bear. I saw it really, really clearly and definitely could have filmed it, but in that kind of situation, it's not like, oh, let me film this grizzly bear. It's more just like, all right, let's assess the situation, see what's going on, and take it seriously. So I don't have any footage, but that's pretty much it. And then for the rest of the day, me, Yeti, and Chani kind of hiked together and got to a nice place to camp near a different spring. Today's the next morning and back on the trail. And I mentioned that today I'm going to be going up and over Elk Mountain, and I believe Elk Mountain is the final point on this trail above 10,000 feet. I've looked at the maps and I'm pretty sure, once I get on top of Elk Mountain and go down the other side, that'll be the last time on the CDT that I'm above 10,000 feet of altitude. So pretty cool. Kind of seems like a checkpoint on this trail, sort of the final point above 10,000 feet. everything will be lower than that after. So yeah, I don't know, so much of this trail has been above 10,000 feet, especially in Colorado and even in Wyoming in the Wind River Range. But yeah, after this it will be all much lower elevation. Maybe not much lower, but where the trail finishes is actually below 5,000 feet. So yeah, pretty cool. All right, this is the summit of Elk Mountain, and I believe this is the final point on the CDT above 10,000 feet. It's a nice summit. And this peak is actually right on the Idaho-Montana state line. As I've mentioned, you know, I've been following the Idaho-Montana state line for a while, and these ridge lines are basically exactly on the state line. So here you can see one of these things, which marks the boundary between Idaho and Montana. Literally right on the peak of this mountain. It's quite cool. I like the fact that they drew that border between the states literally right on the divide. All right, on our way downhill now. It's pretty much all downhill all the way to town now, just less than 10 miles.
So Leute, ihr kennt ja Waldo and the Bare Necessities. Und der Waldo, der hat, das ist quasi seine Kamera. Guckt mal euch an. Die Kamera, die sieht aus wie so ein iRobot.
Yeah, it is like a little robot.
It's ein Gimbal.
Yeah. All right, today is the next day now, so I'm just putting 2 days into one video because it's not much for today, given that it's almost 5 p.m. now. I basically spent most of today in town, in Leadore, in Idaho, and just left town with a big group of hikers. I don't know, at least 7 of us maybe. We all got a ride in the back of a pickup truck back up to the trail, And yeah, had a nice day, spent most of the day in town in Leadore. Good to get some rest, get a lot of food, yeah, and just chill out with some hikers, and met some locals, and it was a nice time actually. It was pretty good. We just stayed at a small like campground on the edge of town. It's a really small town. I should have put some photos in the video because I didn't actually film anything, but I have some pictures of the town, but there's really not much there, but the locals are really friendly, so it was a nice time. And yeah, anyway, we stayed at this campground, and the campground host was extremely friendly. We hung out with him a lot, and he had a lot of cool stories. He was a very adventurous guy. He had actually met, if you know the book or the film Into the Wild, he had met Christopher McCandless. Yeah, he met Christopher McCandless in Alaska, in Homer, Alaska. So he told us a bit about that and all of his adventures in Alaska and all over the US, so that was pretty cool. I can't remember exactly when he said that was, maybe early 90s, like 91, 92. So we met Christopher McCandless shortly before he died in Alaska. Yeah, it was pretty interesting talking to that guy. And he had a lot of other stories as well to tell. Interesting guy. But yeah, I got lots of food in town, but I didn't realize until after I'd eaten that there was actually a challenge at the restaurant where it was like some insanely huge burger, loads of fries, milkshake, a soda, and you had to eat all of it in under 30 minutes, and they give you $100 if you can complete the challenge. And I didn't actually know about this challenge until after I'd already eaten, so I missed out, because I feel like, you know, I can eat a lot of food. I feel like I could have completed that challenge and made $100, because actually two hikers, Rattler and Joe Dirt, they both did the challenge. They said it was easy. Joe Dirt did it in 14 minutes. The limit was 30 minutes. He did it in less than half the time, and they both got a $100 bill. Just straight up got $100 cash for eating a big meal. So I mean, man, I really feel like I messed up and I missed out. Almost made me want to stay another night just so that I could do it tonight. But anyway, back on the trail. Didn't make $100, but oh well. So I've been surprised almost immediately getting back on the trail. We've gone into the forest and been in the forest ever since. You know, it's only been a few miles, but I've been surprised that like the last stretch was so much like dry, barren landscape, and then leaving Leadore, we're like almost immediately in the forest. And I mentioned before, I was quite surprised by how dry and barren that last stretch was. I really enjoyed it though. But I figured this stretch will probably get more into the forest. There's probably still going to be more like dry, barren stuff. I honestly haven't looked into it at all, but I'm guessing we'll get some more forest stuff like this, but we'll see how it goes. I figure like the closer we get to Derby and the more we get into Montana, it's going to become more forest. And the hikers I got dropped off with back to the trail, I'll just quickly name all of them. I've named all of them before. It's Yeti, Sonic, Mudbath, Cream, Rattler, Joe Dirt, and I think that's everyone. I may have missed a name there, I'm not sure. But we're all planning to camp together. We're only doing like 7 miles or something, or 8 miles. and apparently there's a good place to camp, so I think we're all going to hang out this evening and camp together, so that should be nice. Oh yeah, and one more thing I wanted to mention is on the way into Leadore, I got a ride in the back of a pickup truck with Yeti and Chani, and the guy driving the truck was down a dirt road or gravel road, and he kind of zoomed past this cowboy, a rancher, on horseback with a big cowboy hat and all that, and the cowboy had like 8 dogs with him, like loads of dogs, and they were kind of all over the place. And yeah, the guy drove by pretty quickly, and there's a lot of dust, getting blown up into the air and stuff. And I think the cowboy like flipped him off or something, or like just yelled at him. And the guy driving the truck that we were in, and we were just in the back of the truck, he like screeches to a halt, like skids to a halt pretty much, probably pulling the like handbrake and just like skidding on the gravel. And he hops out of his truck, he gets out and confronts the cowboy, and the cowboy like turns around on his horse and rides up, and all the dogs like surround the guy driving us, and we're like sitting in the back of the truck like whoa, what's going on here? And they start yelling at each other. The cowboy's like, you gotta slow down, and they're just like getting in this like screaming, yelling match at each other. And yeah, it was quite the sight to see. It's kind of like, yeah, you're really in Idaho now. I don't know, it didn't escalate. They just shouted at each other for a bit, and then he turned back to us and he was like, sorry about that, guys. And just gets back in the truck and carries on driving as if like nothing happened, and the cowboy just carries on along his way. But yeah, he was like a real cowboy rancher guy with all these dogs and on horseback, and it was just like, I don't know, you're in the middle of nowhere in Idaho. Like the scenery really fits the whole like old west style type of backdrop, and it's just like you're in cowboy country. The guy driving the pickup, it was just like a really old 2-seater pickup, and like we're riding in the back and we're on a gravel road and the guy's on horseback, and like it just seemed like such a middle of nowhere like American cowboy old west type experience. It was quite the sight to see. Storm is coming.
It's coming.